All right. I've never thought about how to start this. Should we say hi?
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Okay.
Yeah, we can just say, like, you want to say, like, oh, yeah, we can. I didn't have to roll. um,
Hi, I'm Kenneth.
And I'm Maya. Welcome to Journey to the Double Doc. We are incoming MD PhD students at Penn and Harvard MIT, and we wanted to create this channel to chronicle our training paths.
We hope to share things that we learned along the way that we wish we had known, as well just as to be a general resource for those interested and passionate about science and medicine. So feel free to contact us at our Twitter handles or our email. We would love to hear what you want us to talk about, and so welcome to our channel and hope you will join us on our journey. I was like,
and I was like, oh my god, like, why are you talking about this? Is like your first impression.
Hi everyone. So welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about our third semester. I'm starting to feel like one of those moms who's like, my baby's like 32 months old, and I'm like, so okay. But yeah, so third semester, aka kind of the end of our preclinical work, and the beginning of our M2 year, and just sort of talk about what that's kind of looked like. And I think that at least for me at this stage, like M2 has felt like such a big deal because it's a really big transitional year, and thinking about starting clerkships and finishing off clinical work and finalizing PhD plans and PhD programs and the like, and starting to kind of make these big decisions and navigate really the big first switch in our MD PhD careers, which is going now from med school to the PhD. So Kenneth, maybe you can kick us off and tell us, like, what does this third semester look like for you? How are things going? And what do you think about what this third semester means so far and kind of this journey?
Yeah, so at Penn, we start off with courses for the rest of the month through the end of the calendar year. We had cardio, renal, we're currently in pulm. We then have a bit more micro and infectious diseases, and then like a boot camp before clerkships that start in January. I have come down with senioritis beyond like words. It is unbelievable how over I am with like classroom learning and just trying to memorize stuff. Maybe it's because medicine, like internal medicine, like is not for me. But I'm making my way through. Very much looking forward through to the Thanksgiving break. I think that I have also tried to be somewhat alive in the lab as well, not too successfully. More successful in the beginning of the semester when there was like a very specific result or specific experiment that I needed to complete. But then once that completed, I kind of like now like spiraled into like brainstorming mode again, which is like really fun and nice. Which is to say like it's like a nice, easy, like low-key like escape from med school. Just like if I don't want to think about med school, I'll like go and like read papers, like think about what I potentially want to do. So that's been nice. The other thing that was actually helpful during this time was we didn't have much clinical like exposure during our first year. I'm trying to remember if we had any. Nothing mandatory, I guess. Like people chose to like shadow and like do whatever on their own. But we are part of this course called Intro to Clinical Medicine, where we like learn like clinical skills such as history taking and physical. We were assigned to do so with pediatric patients. I got assigned to a phenomenal GI specialist who I then like went into the clinic with to do physicals and histories with. And it was just very refreshing and like a little bit motivating to be reminded like, oh, this is like what I'm like working towards. Like her practice is a good mix of like procedures and medicine, but like obviously a very specific subset of medicine that's a very specific subset of medicine. So I felt like, okay, like I could see myself doing this again. Like this is like why I'm here. Ended up like going back into an ophthalmology clinic for the first time, like maybe 2 weeks ago now. Again, like I was like, okay, like this makes sense to me. I'm motivated again. So that was a nice like little uplift of spirits. With regards to the coming transition to clerkships, absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrified. The way I already like don't know anything about like internal medicine, it's just gonna be so obvious. Like on the wards, they say that the first rotation. So I have medicine first, and here at Penn that includes 4 weeks of inpatient service, 4 weeks family medicine, and then 4 weeks of variable subspecialty slash inpatient medicine. Um, they say that people know it's your first time, your first rotation. I hope that's true because boy, it will show that it's my first time. And then second after that, so we do 2 before we end in the summer for MD PhD students. So my second one, surgeries and the O's. So I'm never gonna know more anatomy than I know currently, definitely not after 4 years. So I really need surgery now, which is why I'm doing it. So that one also equally terrified for, but I think I am ready for a change from pre-clerkship curriculum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I also feel like, maybe like being on the wards will kind of like I always hear like, stuff that you don't learn in the classroom. Like sometimes it's so much easier to learn in the wards because you actually have like the patient in front of you and it's not just like, some abstract facts or even just like these clinical vignettes that have these specific buzzwords that you kind of lean into
Yeah.
and then just move on. So
Yeah.
I think it will be good, but I also feel you on it just being scary, but I think you are super well prepared. So yeah.
How's your third semester treating you?
It's going pretty well. So I think just as a reminder, HST is lecture based, so we take all of our courses concurrently, just like in college. And currently, the 3 courses we're taking this semester, well, we started off taking neuroscience, reproductive biology, and microbiology. Reproductive biology is only a half year, a half semester course, so we've since transitioned over into GI, which has also been good. I think that general reflections on this semester. So last semester was kind of our more internal medicine heavy semester. So we did like cardio, palm, renal, endocrinology, like musculoskeletal, like kind of all these like major sort of organ systems. And I think that I actually had a really, really good experience in that because a lot of those classes we took with the HST PhD students, so it was very engineering based. And like I really like that kind of sort of class structure with very problem solving based and like especially the heart. I just really enjoyed learning like all the physics behind it and like being able to drive things out. This semester is definitely different because I think that especially like with like topics like micro and neuroscience, especially with like neuroanatomy, there is so much baseline stuff that you need to kind of memorize before you can like get to that next stage of like problem solving or reasoning things out. So for example, not really doing problem sets anymore and just doing Anki is definitely a change for me and I think was initially hard, but I just have to credit Professor John Assad, who's a neurobiologist at Harvard, for completely reigniting my love of neuroscience over the last 3 weeks. He's also from my hometown of Buffalo, New York, so I guess I just like really resonate with him personally. But
Mhm.
he's been teaching us kind of about like sensory neuroscience, but more broadly like systems neuroscience, science, and circuitry. And I just like totally love it, and it's like totally an HST class where like nothing is in first aid at all. Like it, maybe just like the basics, like this is what a photoreceptor is covered on the boards, but we just go like deep into like the circuitry and like that stuff I've never really studied before. And I think as you all know, probably I'm interested in the brain, but I don't really have a formal neuroscience background at all. So just like learning about this new area of neuroscience that I've never really experienced, that's really outside my wheelhouse of neurogenomics, has been amazing. And I'm like super into it now and just like super excited. And so I think although this semester has been challenging at times academically, just because it's a very different type of kind of memorization heavy sort of way of thinking that I haven't had to deal with as much just in the last year. Maybe
Mhm.
ironically in med school, maybe this is just closer to what things probably should be like in some ways. But I think it just recently has felt like things are refalling into place, and I'm feeling excited and good about it, and also thankful that I have like 3 more months before I actually enter clerkships because we do our intro to clinical medicine, our ICM course next semester. So really have just been focusing on classes and the research, starting to brainstorm thesis ideas, and I think it's been good all in all.
That's true. I do feel things like are falling into place
Yeah.
despite my like lack of motivation for a lot of things. I think like my next steps are very clear. If anything, like I was just thinking about this too, like I don't know how to make the most of my mentors because I feel like everything is like so regimented in the short term that like I don't even know like what to be asking them about. You know what I'm saying? Like this is like more like not like more like this is like more like long-term mentor like type figures, like career mentors, I guess. I don't even know like what to be asking them at this point because it seems like the path is like so well laid out that like what do I ask you about? Because I know what my next steps are going to be. And like, but yeah, I guess like then I've been coming to the thought like maybe I need to like ask them about like deviations from the path. I feel like would be like what then I need to talk to them about. Not necessarily like about I need them to comment on like what I'm gonna do, but like where others have deviated and like what that has looked like for them to like just like understand like other than my own path, like what has been done, what's out there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that is such a good point. And it is interesting because like I think you're right that in some ways like the MD-PhD path is so laid out. I think honestly more so than a PhD path in the sense that like for MD-PhDs, like you usually know that you're gonna do your PhD, med school, residency, fellowship with some research. And like it kind of seems like that path is like a little bit more clear. But then on the flip side, like the MD-PhD path also has so much flexibility and so many like exit points or like
Yeah.
entry points. We actually had hosted a seminar for we in the MD PhD program at HMS. We do this little like meet the investigators thing where we just have informal
Mhm.
conversations with MD PhDs. And we had recently hosted two Whitehead fellows or former Whitehead fellows,
Mhm.
Kip Weiskopf and Kristen Noose, who's now a professor at MIT. And it was really great to hear about like the fellows program and like kind of this, additional route where like, you'll do an MD PhD and like in Kristen's case, she then went straight to being a fellow. In Kip's place, he did residency internal medicine and now is simultaneously a Whitehead fellow and a hemonc fellow, which I think is crazy to do both at the same time, but amazing. I like don't know how he does it. But yeah, I think that was just like, really drove home to me like how many cool different paths there are and, what you can take or not take. And I think it also drove home to me that I think that sometimes with mentors, like it can be easy for them to kind of advise you to take the path that they took, but really
Mhm.
there are so many different things to do and also to like have faith that like maybe the path that you want to take might be different than some others but it's still the right one. And like one like thing that really stood out to me was like we had a this kind of seminar with Vijay Sankaran, who's the one who discovered BCL11A as like a regulator for fetal hemoglobin during his PhD at HMS, which is crazy. And so like so many people were like, oh, you should like not do an MD PhD at this point. You should just like now go and be a Whitehead fellow or like start your own lab. Like you've made this like, and obviously we know, especially now in retrospect, this really huge fundamental discovery. And what Vijay said is like, so he had all these voices basically telling him like the point of an MD PhD is to become like a PI. Like you are ready to do that. There's no need to finish the medical training. And he still decided to do like pediatric residency and like hemonc fellowship because that was something that was so important to him personally. And I think that story really resonates with me because I think like there can be this misconception that like you do an MD PhD to do like X or Y. And once you like have reached that or able to do that, you should stop. And that should be the path you should take. But I think like people who still really stick to like what they want to do is really inspirational. So I was really grateful for VJ telling us that story because I think like
Yeah.
it's such a good example of someone who made such an impactful discovery and still valued medicine, for example. And so I just
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, that's really motivating and inspiring. I agree with you. And wow, that would be a dream, being a clinical fellow and being a Whitehead fellow at the same time.
So amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. That just that. So it seems like right now y'all have like a lot of like speaker talks and like that kind of thing. Does that continue? Like I'm assuming it continues, but like does your participation in it continue like when you're on the boards?
Yeah, so the speaker series is run by every year like the first year. So like the first year med students run it and then they transition in the fall to being M2s and they continue to run it. So it's like a year-long commitment, spring
Mhm.
of M1, fall of M2. So I was actually on the committee for that, which is why I like have attended all of these. So definitely not everyone has to attend and not everyone does attend. But I think that they're great. I hope to be able to continue attending because everyone is really awesome and also they give us DoorDash gift cards. So it's a
Oh
win.
my gosh.
But I think that in some ways they're like kind of also meant to help people pick labs. So there's like that
Mhm.
element, but I really just love hearing people's stories and get, kind of hearing what they did, because I think it's so easy to see, like, I had actually had one of my first rotation PIs, Chris Walsh, speak to us at the first MTI I ran, and like he's like amazing and like has so many positions, like his email signature is so long, and it's easy to look at Chris and be like, you must like you're like so good at everything, it must have just been like a perfect path. And like hearing him talk about, no, like, you do have to still think about work-life balance, you do have to think about like, like research, and he did like a Fulbright during his last year of his PhD, which is like so cool, and I like had never known that. And I think just seeing that like the path he followed is not always exactly linear, like no one's path really is. I think it's just a misconception that we have, was like amazing, and I just like really appreciate seeing that from all the PIs who come to speak to us.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. We have something similar for our second year MD-PhD students here at Penn, but it's more like translationally focused. It's called C-STAR, cases in translational medicine or translational research, something like that. Basically, different faculty and industry speakers come in to talk about like their MD PhD training and how they got to where they are, and just like what the process of translating science to the clinic looks like. And it's really interesting for sure. And I think that it signifies to me, at least, like this recognition by the program that like academia is not for everyone. And I think like that's really important to like think about, because at this point, I basically almost all my mentors have been from academia, and having that outside perspective, I think, has been very helpful for us, and just even learning, considering like thinking about non-academic paths with an MD PhD training.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is so helpful and such a good point, that just like by the nature of our training environment, we're obviously exposed more to academic medicine, like our professors and everyone are people who are obviously in academic medicine. So seeing that perspective is really useful in kind of thinking things through. Yeah, I think for me, post winter break, I'm just excited to start taking our intro to clinical medicine course, learn how to use my stethoscope, which I bought. For some reason, I was under the impression when I was applying to med school that they would give you all this stuff. Sorely surprised to hear that that was not the truth. But regardless, I'm excited to learn how to use it and just kind of start diving into the world of medicine and see what it's like in like a way that I've never been able to do directly before.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. So like as part of our clinical medicine course, um, like we like take physicals, and when there's this one time where like I reported out a blood pressure, and my preceptor was just like, that is just impossible. You did it wrong. It's like, oh God. So I'm looking forward to using the arm cuffs in the hospital to take blood pressure.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We'll catch you soon.
Yep. Thank you. See ya.